here towards. Oh, looks like she just popped on.
Oh, there's a lot of people here. I didn't even realize that. I thought you guys were joking.
No.
Yeah.
We bring big crowds.
Wow. Very interesting. Okay.
Listen, this level of civic involvement, I love it. This is what I get up in the morning for.
I wore my squirrely tie. I got it as a gift at Christmas time, and so hopefully we'll get through it tonight. All right. All right. Well, 1 second. Have we hit the clock at
Yeah, we're
We
6:45.
all right. Give me 1 more minute. I just want to pull something out. I don't want to start calling Mr. Pettix Felix Vargas because I had the wrong score sheet here. So here you go.
No.
All right, we're all good. Roll call. Chairperson Wright.
Here.
Commissioner Pettix.
Present.
Commissioner Walde.
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez.
Here.
Commissioner Giorgiani. Giorgiani, Commissioner.
He's on mute, but he's here.
Okay. Commissioner Dunlap.
I'm here.
He was the first one. Okay, Mr. Giorgiani. Commissioner Dunlap.
Yes.
Great. And Commissioner Caldwell is not here yet. All right, we'll circle back to him. I like to jump into the Pledge of Allegiance because normally they go and have me read. I think the Pledge of Allegiance is perfect. All right, stand please.
All right, let's get to it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
Visible
liberty and
liberty,
justice
justice for all, for everyone.
everyone. Okay, notice of meeting. This meeting of the Board of Commissioners will take place electronically in accordance with the Open Public Records Meetings Act, specifically NJSA 10:4-9.3. Notice of this meeting was given by one public advertisement with sufficient notice herewith to the Home News Tribune. 2, filing advance written notice of this meeting with the city clerk's office. And 3, posting of this notice of the on the public website of the Housing Authority. During the meeting, participants, including members of the public, may be muted by the host. However, there will be an opportunity for them to participate and speak during the public portion of this meeting, where participants will be unmuted at their request. And I have the authority to share screens if I have to. Thank you.
All right.
Consideration of meeting minutes of the past that I've provided commissioners with. I'll need a motion in a second or discussion.
Discussion.
No discussion?
Do we have a motion?
Okay, good. Everybody's good. A motion in a second on the minutes.
Motion.
Second.
Zach motions. Hold on a second. Sorry, Zach. Medina Hernandez, seconds. Roll call. Chairperson Wright.
Yes.
Chairperson, I'm sorry, Commissioner Pettix.
I was absent last meeting.
If you had a chance to review anything or review the historical events that took place, you can go ahead and honor me with a yes or a no vote.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Walde. Commissioner, are you at the gym still?
No, that was this morning. You there, Yurgo?
Yurgo, unmute.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
On the minutes, yes. Commissioner Medina Hernandez,
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani,
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap,
Yes.
and Mr. Caldwell's not here yet, President, okay? Mr.
Mhm.
Pettix, the reason that was important is that was when they voted for me to be the new ED here at the authority, so at least it's like you're on board. I feel like it's unanimous now. Thank you. Okay, great.
Fine.
My report. I have a report and a committee report. So let's just jump to the committee report real quick. Chairperson Wright and I have been spending some time together talking about his experience out in San Diego and what he brought back to New Jersey for us. And I started looking into some of the things that he talked about, and they were, they're really interesting. And they were profitable for low-income individuals who want to pull themselves up from their bootstraps and move on. So Commissioner Wright asked me to bring up for this meeting, after we looked into some of the projects that existed in El Paso, Charlotte, and he can talk more about it, but we're going to form a committee, and I'd like to reach out to some of my board members. Obviously, we can't have more than 3, or else we'll be in violation of Sunshine Act, but I think it's a good time to start talking about some of the experiences that Zach had out in San Diego during the conference, because I think it fits perfectly with the model that we have here at Schwartz Robeson. And if you'd like to share a little bit more, I know we have a full agenda today, but I'll give you a minute, Zach. I mean, I guess you can take as long as you want. You are the chair, but I do have to kind of move this along. So
Yeah, no, I understand people got fingers crossed. They're sitting on their hands. They don't want me to take too long with this. Listen, I went out to FADA. It was a fantastic meeting with other heads of housing authorities from around the country. Our housing stock is old, and there are folks in Minneapolis and El Paso that are in more dire straits than us that were able to get in there through some legal machinations and working with HUD and refresh the entirety of their housing stock. We're at a point where I believe that we're approaching functional obsolescence, and I think that we should be looking at some more aggressive measures in order to provide our families with the level of housing that they need. It's going to require a large amount of research, some partners. I mean, we're building out the strategic runway right now. And as Director Toto mentioned, we're going to form a committee in order to get some after-hours minds on this. I will not burden the rest of the participation of this meeting with any additional details, but I feel like that's the gist. We want to get folks the housing they deserve. We have the square footage to do it. And it's just a matter of putting together the right partnerships, shoe leather, and elbow grease. So if that's something that you're interested in, yes, long hours afterwards, but fully worth it.
great. Thank you, Chairman. Okay, a couple other items here. We have 3 vacancies currently on site. We have many units that are in desperate need of repair. We can only do so much with what we have. Our REAC inspection is now called Inspire. They finally got rid of that horrendous, awful, vicious REAC. It doesn't mean that we're going to score any better. It just means it's a different kind of standard. You can't use today's housing stock with 1964 housing, or I should say, you can't use 1964 housing stock with today's measuring of the situation that the individuals are dealing with. So with that said, other item was TCB. They broke ground last week. Typically you break ground and you invite people out, but I guess it was a little cold and they were excited. They got their money in their building, but all the commissioners and everyone included is invited to the groundbreaking on April the 4th. So that's April 4th. They're going to be sending you out invites. We also have a new IT company here. Manish Patel has taken over our IT and our website. Any advice you guys have or any recommendations? I know some of you have shared with me your personal thoughts. Please remind me again so I can bring him into the fold. Mr. Pettix and I have talked about a possible time change or a day change. I said, I think I want to bring it out to the public and to the commissioners right now while I have everyone together. It's something that we should explore and talk about. Commissioner Pettix?
Sure, thank you. When I joined the board, I didn't realize we met on Wednesday evening. I don't want to upset anybody else's schedule, but it would be helpful if we met on one of the other evenings because I do have another commitment at 7:30 on Wednesday evening. But if this is the only time other people can make it, I'll try to adapt my schedule as best as I can.
See, I had a little different opinion, and I know there's legal counsel here that could represent you. I looked at it like this. You're like, like the rookie on the block. I mean, even though you've been around politics for so long. So I figure like this, take out the chair and you can make it to whatever day you want. See, we have that election coming up soon. I'm just.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, great.
We can
Last
keep
point.
Wednesday night, it works for me.
So, and though Zach has been doing a phenomenal job, we always like competition. Speaking of competition, I finally fulfilled my Oprah request. I know it was some time and I was being hit over the head with it. And the individual, I believe, is happy now that I've fulfilled my Oprah request. And so, Mr. Cradaville, you should be happy. If there's anything else, please see Mr. Pettix, and I'm sure he can get it to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll need a motion and a second to close the secretary and committee report for right now.
I motion to close the secretary committee report.
Second,
I'll second it.
Pedix, roll call, Chairperson Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Pedix,
Yes.
Commissioner Walde,
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez. Miss Medina Hernandez?
Yes, sorry
Aye.
about that.
It's okay. Commissioner Giorgiani,
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap? And Mr. Dunlap? Yep, okay. Mr. Caldwell, President Caldwell, you here yet? No? Okay. All right, let's move on. We have an informational item that we're gonna hear from Noah Feinberg and Tim Hinkle of Penrose. They're gonna give you an update, and without further ado, Zach, we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna share my screen with Noah.
All right.
Let me ask, he might have fallen asleep because he hasn't asked me to share yet. Mr. Hinkle is here, I see. Oh, Noah.
Can you hear me,
who was
Danny?
that? That was some guy called Max. Sorry, Noah, I got you screwed up with somebody else. I can hear you now. So we're gonna go through my little lesson that you gave me earlier today. And I am gonna be, Mr. Kelso understands some of the trials and tribulations of the technology world, I see. Okay, make host, here we go. Make sure you give it back to me, all right? Thanks. There you go, sir.
I don't want that much power, but thank you. Yes.
All right, you have it, I think, right?
Yeah.
Good? Noah, good? All right. Thank you.
I should be sharing. Can you see the screen?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
Can everyone else see the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, everybody. And so you should also maybe at least hear my voice and see my face. This is Tim Henkel at Penrose. You get a little acknowledgement of that.
Hi, Tim.
I see you too.
Great.
We saw you.
Hey, and before I jump into this brief presentation and update we wanted to give, I'll congratulate you on traveling cross country in order to get more information about what other housing authorities are doing and what's going on. And Noah and I will both be very interested in having heard about your experiences in El Paso, where we've actually partnered with that housing authority to do some of their, by no means all, but a big chunk of their conversions and rehabilitations and some of their new construction. So if you saw Patriot Place or Some Point, or some of those other ones while you were there or heard about them, they're a known partner to us, and Noah and I are the people within Penrose who happen to have done that work. So a pretty strange little connection across the country to a place that's about as far away as can be. So happy to be part of those conversations as a development partner to other housing authorities. But that's not why we're here today. Today we want to talk to you and give you an update on the Hildebrand Commons, which has borne other names in the past, namely the Hoffman Building, which is the building that stood before, has since been emptied and relocated to the residents out, and since demolished. We're here because, Noah, you can go ahead and advance the slide. We're here because we've made significant progress, and we are what I would describe as in the fight path towards a closing and construction of the building that we've long worked on, modified, worked on some more, and taken great pains to get to this step. So it's a really a pretty exciting moment to have gotten here. There's a ways to go in order to get through the months that remain between now and closing, but we're benefiting from a lot of the work that's been done to date, done by you all, some of your predecessors on the board, and we're excited to get there. So this is our very brief update and agenda, but we'll go through a little bit of the history just to give people some recollection from the Hoffman days to the Hildebrand days. Noah's going to describe our critical path to closing just in very general terms. We'll give you a little reminder with the rendering, the floor plans, and some of the next steps, so that we can begin to communicate more frequently and get you guys all the information you need to be fully aware of where we are. But I think the upshot of why we're here today is to make sure that that you all are aware that at long last we're moving very actively in the right direction with a plan that we're very confident in towards closing. Go ahead, Noah. So for those of you who don't remember, we have a wonderful historic picture of the Hoffman Building. That's a mid-demolition picture. The Hoffman Building was a very uniquely structured building that the Housing Authority and, we involved ourselves as well, thought long and hard about, before we go the distance of taking this down, could we reuse it? Geometrically, and in many other physical ways, is a very difficult building to consider upgrading in any kind of positive way. The unit sizes were uncomfortable, not today's living standard. And the decision through RFP by the authority was to solicit for developers to partner with replacement buildings. We came in with a replacement prospect to replace the 70-unit building with actually 2 buildings, and used some of the available land on the Providence Square site to build another senior building to relocate effectively half of the public housing units into that building. Once that was done, we began the relocation process, moved folks who were interested and eligible over into that building, and then obviously demolished the building that they left. And then you can see here on the date path, 2011, 55 Harvey was completed. And we began then the effort of financing a replacement building for the Hoffman Building on its actual site. That has been quite the saga. So you see here from 13 to 18, we began plugging away at NJHMFA, submitting tax credit applications. What happened in that interval is they changed the qualified allocation plan. The things that were in the favor of the 55 Harvey Building became out of favor for the Hoffman Building in terms of its competition for 9% awards. In the meantime, we retained responsibility for the property, keeping that fence up, mowing it, putting the fence back up whenever anybody got into it, and trying to keep it from becoming an attractive nuisance, which is obviously a little bit of a difficulty with a vacated property. Go ahead, Noah. Things though did change, and we've received an allocation of tax credits in 2019. Big day, red letter day. But 2019, of course, was followed very quickly by 2020. And that's a moment when obviously a lot of things got a little haywire with COVID-19. We took that opportunity to go back in and do some redesign, work on our cost efficiency, trying to fight against the headwinds of cost increases, which of course were happening in the construction industry and in all kinds of other places in our world. And that's how we've spent the better half of the last couple of years preparing and now working with the Aspire program, which is coupling itself with traditional affordable housing resources within the state, the NJHMFA, in order to get these projects done. So that pipeline is beginning to move. There's some notations here about the EDA. The EDA administers the Aspire program, just to be clear. And those rules, the EDA's Aspire rules, took a little time to cook. We had to sit, we had to wait. But they have since published their rules, and we are moving very aggressively towards an issuance of building permits. For those of you who are familiar with the development process, is usually your building permits are the last thing to show up. But because we've done so much work in zoning, land development, and design, we're actually ahead on our building design and land development process, and now just need to catch up with the funding agencies at HMFA, who are shifting our 9% award into a 4% award, which is a lot more ready financing. We've noted here that we've put a lot of money into this, and are really motivated beyond obviously our desire to produce a great housing resource there in that location, but also motivated to make sure we're getting a return on our investment, or getting all of us a return on our investment in the design to date. Noah, go ahead. I'm going to ask Noah to pick up here, talk a little bit about where we are and where we're going, and give you a sense of what our exact closing timeline is.
Yeah, thank you. Can everybody hear me? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Tim. So this is a very high level critical path to schedule closing, and this essentially takes us from here today, the board meeting being the first star, through some high level activities to a closing, which we are expecting to be in October this year. So We have been talking, have lots of conversations with the city building department. They have scheduled a meeting for us in mid-March to go in and submit those building permits, those building construction plans, excuse me, that Tim was talking about for building permit application. So as Tim was saying, the building permits are typically one of the last things you're waiting for before closing, due to all the time and energy that's been spent developing those plans while we've been waiting for the financing to catch up. We will submit those in March. We are looking to go to HMFA's board meeting in May of this year. Now that the Aspire program rules are in effect, HMFA is allowing projects with Aspire to proceed through their pipeline. They were holding up all Aspire projects until the rules went final. Once we get HMFA's DOI, which is effectively their pre-application process that they go through for their financing, we'll then start to submit documents to HUD for the HUD piece of this component with the Housing Authority. We're looking at an August commitment from HMFA. That is where all of the tax exempt bonds, the tax credits, and all that other funding, in addition to the EDA tax credits, which are not listed on here, but they ride in the parallel process, will effectively become committed. And at that point, we are able to go to a financial closing in October here. And then construction will start immediately thereafter and be completed in February of 2026. It's about a 6-month lease-up process from there. So in August of 2026, effectively 2.5 years today, let's call it, the project will be fully operational and fully occupied with residents. This is a rendering of Hildebrand Commons, and just a little backstory for everybody. As part of this process of redesigning the project and moving the project forward, we've tried to engage the community and keep this project active. Penrose has had numerous conversations with the city and also Pastor Carmen Golden, of Mount Zion Church. And through some of those conversations, the project was officially changed its name from the old Hoffman Pavilion to Hildebrand in honor of the famous Reverend Hildebrand of New Brunswick. So, the city and Mount Zion were very pleased we are to be able to name the project after Reverend Hildebrand as the project breaks ground and has its ribbon cutting. I'm sure there'll be lots of more remembrances of the Reverend. This is what the project looks like. It's six stories. It is 66 units of senior housing. You can see here on the outside what it will look like. The outside materials are mostly hardy plank, which is a more expensive material, and really nicely designed by Driven Architecture, who is our architect on the project. This is the first floor plan. I realize that this is a little bit hard to digest because of all of the things happening here, but just to quickly orient you, here is Nielsen Street to the left. You'll see my cursor. Here's Nielsen Street to the left, Hildebrand up top. On the first floor, there will be a garage to the south. At the corner of Hildebrand, there'll be a management office and community space. We'll have a gym and community room as well. In the back, there'll be a courtyard for the residents to sit outside facing John Street and the community builders property. And lots of other amenity and program space for them on the first floor. Floors 2 through 6 will primarily be all of the units. This project is a majority 1-bedroom units. There will be some 2-bedroom units. One of the things to mention as this project has progressed with time, the project has gotten more energy efficient. So this project will be an Energy Star rated property and a Zero Energy Ready Homes, which is one of the highest forms of energy efficiency programs that are out there to date. And really effect on the residents will be that they will have some of the highest efficient units out there in the marketplace. And the effect for them is their utility allowances, which they pay, will be greatly reduced from sort of an average unit out there in the marketplace, and thereby making these projects even more affordable for them. That's really the update. And then I think the next steps are, we wanted to get back together with everybody, give a high level update. And as we go forward with this critical path here, the idea is that we keep the housing authority and the board members updated on this progress, where we are in our schedule, that we're keeping track, what we will need from the housing authority as we go through the HUD process, answer any questions and just keep everybody informed as we go here. And did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, and just to make to be very clear, there are a number of important touch points between the housing authority and its developer Penrose, including those preparations for those board meetings, those HMFA financing meetings, and of course the engagement with HUD. So there's lots of detail underneath here that we'll want to and need to work on. I think that again, the main message is that it's time. It's time, and we're really excited about that, and really want to make sure we're creating a format and giving folks an opportunity, not just tonight, obviously, but to ask questions as we move forward and clarify anything that needs to be clarified, so that as you're making your way around town, you're able to answer on behalf of this project, which I know has been out there for a while and is really important. And obviously is important to us as well. And I guess the last thing I'd say, before, I guess, Danny, giving it back to you for any questions you'd like to chaperone, is that to anybody who's very, very color sensitive, those colors haven't been picked. So if anybody has a better idea as to what that thing looks like in terms of the denominations of light browns or dark browns, or, I'm a basically anything but yellow guy. But this is certainly your building as much as ours, and we're really open to all those kinds of inputs as well.
Tim,
Danny?
great job. Tim, great job. Noah also, but the colors are beautiful. Everything, the Hardy plank, once you hear Hardy plank,
like it. Yeah.
changes the whole dynamic. Energy Star rated property. It's all I keep hearing from the chair. It's all he keeps talking about the last month and a half since he got back from San Diego. It'd save a lot of money when you have designs like that. Noah, you want to give it back to me before you forget?
Yes, thank you.
All right, and then I'll turn it over to the chair, and we'll see the number of hands or whoever has any questions as far as the board members go. I have not opened it up to public comment yet. But thank you, gentlemen, for providing the update. Chairman?
Okay, are there any questions from the board while we have them on this particular presentation of information before we turn it over to public?
Yeah.
Commissioner Walde?
Yeah. Hi, Noah and Tim. How much? What is the total development cost?
The total development cost I can get you in 1 second. So this project has right now we are in the neighborhood of $34 million, and that project cost has increased because in addition to all the COVID increases that the construction industry has faced, using the Aspire tax credit through the state requires state prevailing wage. And so while there's a great benefit to the project to be able to pay for it, that prevailing wage cost comes in, which does increase the total project cost.
Yeah. Now, assuming that you get the 4% allocation in the Aspire, is there any gap?
No.
Yeah, that
Okay.
I should for your benefit, as you come from that background, we should have led with that. I mean, that is our, having this having this financing structure in place, confirmed at each of those agencies, having, no gap with the construction, a construction cost that we know we can hold through that closing period. That's a big deal. That's a real source of confidence for us.
Okay. All right, those are my questions.
Any other commissioners?
Yes, so continue from knowing this. Regarding
Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes, thank you. Looking into the handicap situation,
Thank you.
special senior citizens, and that
Commissioner Dunlap, I'm having a tough time just making out what you're saying.
accommodation for handicaps or senior citizens in this particular project.
Gotcha.
Yes.
ADA.
88,
Yes. Thank you.
and how many
Yeah.
floors?
You-
I can't get it.
So I heard the question about ADA. I wasn't sure if the second question was asked, but yeah, thank you for bringing that up. This project will be 100% accessible for ADA. It is an elevator building. It is designed as all our senior projects are, to be 100% accessible. There are a majority or a good portion of the units which are themselves 100% accessible for folks in a wheelchair, but then 100% of our units are adaptable so that if there is a resident that has accessibility needs, those units can be converted to accessible. The board under the sink can come out, and the bathroom can be made accessible for them. So this project does have 100% accessibility.
Yeah, and I'll go one step further just to make sure we're clear. When we say, 100% adaptable, it's readily adaptable. And so the anticipation is, we're fully aware that the person who becomes an occupant of the building at a certain age may have different needs as they age in place. And so that adaptability comes without displacement, comes without, needing to do anything crazy to the unit. So that's a really important aspect of what is commonly referred to as universal design, where you're designing a unit, all the units, so that they are prepared to become what the resident needs, as opposed to becoming an obstacle to the resident's needs as they change.
Thank you, gentlemen, for this. Appreciate it.
Any other commissioners?
That's it. Hope this time it goes.
Come on.
Let's
Well,
Mr. Toto.
Yes, we also have Council President Escobar, and she is a liaison, so she technically counts like as a commissioner, so she should be able to speak now if she has something to say. And I should have offered you that earlier, but I was distracted.
Exactly what I was getting to.
Oh, you were? Oh, okay. All right. That's great.
Listen, man, I'm
Council-
not stepping on anybody's thunder. Go ahead.
Right.
No, I just, I don't have anything to say, but I will say it now anyway. If I don't have anything to say, I just, I am happy to hear that this is moving forward. This is a project that we are looking forward to having, and I know that it has taken us a little bit of time, but I appreciate getting an update, and I think that our residents, our senior population, will be ecstatic to live in that building. It looks gorgeous. So I'm looking forward. We're gonna keep, praying, finger crossed, whatever you believe in, that this goes through in terms of finances. But I appreciate all the work and your commitment to our city. Thank you.
See that?
Fantastic.
Even the councilwoman president likes your hardy plank.
Well, thank you for that support, and for the support along the way. This has been a labor of love for all of us, and we're eager to play our part in delivering it. But it's really been a team effort, and we'll get there together.
Great.
Fantastic. Mr. Toto, let's turn it over to the public. I'm sure there's some commentary on the specific project. We want to make sure we don't leave that out.
Let's move it to the public right now. Any hands? There's so many people here. I can't tell who's got hands, but whoever wants to speak first, go ahead, and then we'll cut off the second guy or lady.
Yeah, hello, it's Charlie Cradville. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. I just want to clarify, there'll be additional public comment opportunities later in the meeting. This is just on the Penrose.
This is the public comment period. If the chairman wishes to amorph this period for later, then maybe, but as far as I'm concerned, this is the public comment period. But Chair, I defer to you. Muted.
We've got big items on the agenda. It's worthwhile to get the public's input on it. I want to keep this focus on Penrose so we don't belay the other items that we have. But yeah, Charlie, there'll be another opportunity.
Okay, thank you for that. Really appreciate the presentation. You know, obviously we've been waiting a long time for something to happen with this project. I had one question about the presentation. I saw a figure given for the amount that's been spent, $1.7 some million. And I wanted to ask if that includes the 1.19 million that the housing authority provided for demolition. I believe it was both a grant and a pre-development loan. I've asked about this before, and I just wanted to understand, is that included in the 1.7 million, or is this an additional 1.7 million on top of that?
The funds that you're talking about, Charlie, were utilized for the demolition, the remediation and demolition of the former Hoffman Pavilion Tower as a separate financing phase that was, you know, many years ago. The dollars that you saw there are dollars solely spent by Penrose for the redevelopment effort of the Hildebrand Commons project.
Got it. So that's more recent spending, and it's not public money, it's Penrose money.
Correct.
Okay. Well, I do have some concerns about the plan. One, the you know, potential for flooding. Obviously, you know, that area is known to flood, and I know that one of the reasons things had to be redesigned was to accommodate the waterway that cuts through that land. Also, you know, concerned about timeline. I know it seems like every couple of years I'm at a meeting where there's a presentation about this, and we're told we've done it, we've made the breakthrough, we're almost done here, and you can expect the project to come online soon. And it seems the timeline just keeps getting pushed back and pushed back. So I wanted to ask, like, on the with the HMFA August meeting, I think that's every year in August, they make decisions about which projects get the awards and which don't. If they don't look kindly upon this, or if it doesn't make the cut for those credits, what's the plan then? Are we going to stick with Penrose, or, you know, is there a contingency plan? Because, you know, I know that it's not guaranteed. Maybe, you know, others on the call know more than I do. I'm sure you have some insights into how that process works and how well situated the project is. But just, you know, if that doesn't come through, is the board going to have a different plan, or is Penrose going to have a different plan?
So Charlie, let me answer your two questions, and then I would turn it over to Tim, and then also defer to Danny, since you asked the board. Number one, with relation to the redesign and the flooding, part of the effort of this project was to get the project out of the known floodplain, which is in the northeast corner. This project was fully engineered, reviewed and approved by the city, and we do have DEP approval to build this site. So sort of all of the design aspects related to any flood concerns should hopefully be ameliorated. This area of town is in a flood area. This particular site is not as much, and part of us moving the site a little bit was getting it out of there. But we do have all of our local and state approvals with regard to that. With regard to your second point about the financing, I think there was a little bit of a mix-up. Tim did note in the presentation, we did switch from a 9% application to a 4% application. It's a little technical, but the main difference there is the 9% application is that annual competitive award process that you were referring to. We've moved to a 4% project, which is a rolling project, a rolling application, excuse me. Those credits are available sort of on a project by project basis. So the concern about having to win the award that Tim talked about earlier in the presentation is not there. And with the state Aspire credits, sort of the previous situations of we need the tax credit award and we need this particular funding is sort of gone in this scenario, with the 4% credits, with the state Aspire credits, which are both active and available. We do have the funding in place to close the project, which is sort of why we wanted to provide the update at tonight's meeting to lay out the path towards closing this year. Tim, did you have any follow-up to that?
No, I think you've clarified. I think I would probably end up reiterating what you just said, but the bottom line is that board meeting that we're targeting is not the annual board meeting for funding housing projects. It is the board meeting we're targeting. We could end up there a month earlier or a month later. That's the meeting we're targeting that fits the schedule that we're planning on closing. So that's the range we're in.
Got it. Thanks.
All right. Fantastic. Any other comments from the public?
Yeah, I just have one question for Noah or Tim. Does the Aspire allocation depend on the 4%?
So HMFA and EDA, with the EDAs in recent years using their tax credit for affordable housing, EDA and HMFA have started working in tandem together, because each have their own board approvals for their state financing. And so what they do is you apply to both, you move in parallel. HMFA handles a little bit more of the underwriting, and then when each project is ready, you go to each board sort of either in the same month or 1 month apart from each other. So they sort of are in communication the whole time and bring you to their boards for commitments right around the same time.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions from the public? Seeing none, I have my own question, and this is my only question. Why 6 stories? Why not more?
Oh, I'll answer that. No, I'll take you off the seat for a second. Yeah, the reason is effectively density, to get as many replacement units back on that site as possible. The effective restriction is how much you can afford to build. And so, you in New Brunswick are well accustomed to seeing things get really, really tall. But those construction costs on a per square foot basis, on a per unit basis, get really, really high. And so what you're seeing is the tallest building that we can build within wood frame construction. So the podium below, or the base of that building, will be built out of durable materials, concrete, steel, and then it'll have a podium of wood frame construction. And that, by code, is basically the tallest building you can build. So we're kind of maxing out the opportunity to put units in the upper floors on that site. And that site is, you saw the site plan. It's not ideal, so it's not only small, it's awkwardly shaped and encumbered by some city infrastructure. And so the ability to use that code compliant form of construction to get that tall is really essential to the efficiency of the building.
Absolutely. No, I wasn't. What I was wondering is, have you run the numbers on going taller and what would be necessary to do? And would it be feasible? Could it be leased up? Can we provide more housing, right? We're not at an abundance of housing, we're at a shortage. And I'm not placing the nation's problems on your shoulders. I'm just wondering, can we do more?
Yeah, I think it'd be really, really, really hard on that site. The longer ago history was actually working across the street with Reverend Seawright and trying to negotiate how to get a better footprint for a taller and different building where we could fit more units in. Of course, that's their land, and they had every right to pursue their development opportunities. We were trying to swap parking on the Hoffman site for more verticality and some portion of that site. You're walking down a really good path, and one that we've explored pretty aggressively. So we do consider that a maximized site, just because it is so small.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. We look forward to hearing more about that. Mr. Toad, I turn it over to you to keep this agenda moving.
All right.
Yeah.
Anybody else from the public? All right, we're going to close this public session. We're going to move on. We don't need to take a vote on it because Zach has opened the door for later on. We can keep discussing. So I don't want to open and close everything. So we're just going to close it at the end. Okay. Is that all right, Chair?
Works for me.
Okay, great. New business, unfinished business. I do have unfinished business. I'm so sorry. One important thing, Dr. Caldwell, you're not on yet. Hopefully he shows up when we show up to the university for a retreat. We're trying to plan a retreat. This is for all board members and the liaison, anybody else who wants to come. Trying to plan a retreat, which is long overdue at Centenary. And Dr. Caldwell has graciously extended that offer. Mr. Manfredi and I are going to put together the topics and bring in the professionals to talk about certain topics for us and to better our agency and to better us as people and to provide the best possible representation for the people that we so duly serve. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. So it will probably be March. I don't want to get into April and May because that's my son's baseball season. Sorry, I got to be honest, fully transparent. So it'll probably then summertime, maybe, but I'd like to do it sooner rather than later. Commissioner and I spoke and a couple other individuals. So any suggestions for days? I'm thinking Friday, Saturday, leave Sunday, and I'll report back on everything else. Okay, great.
That sounds fantastic. And thank you for taking the lead on putting this together.
Yep. Thank you. Anybody else with unfinished business? Mr. Manfredi? Oh,
No, Director.
you're good? Okay, great.
All right, let's move
New
this along.
business. I'm going to go a little bit off. We're going to take NBHA resolution number 4, acting as redevelopment agency, resolution approving the third amended to the redevelopment agreement by and between the Housing Authority of the City of New Brunswick, acting as redevelopment agency, and Fulton Square Urban Renewal LLC. I've provided you with all the documents and what they were seeking. Very reasonable. If there's any discussion, would like to hear it now. Otherwise, a motion in a second would be great.
Is there any comment from the board commissioners?
This is the second, hold on a second. This is the second resolution, not the one above it. I just want to get these individuals moving because it's a shorter matter than the development deal.
Yeah, if I could just interject myself, Tom Kelso, on behalf of Fulton Square Urban Renewal. My client, Representative Ron Allenbach, is available. He's on. If there are questions directed to him, but very simply, we laid out in a memorandum to you the reasons for the delay that we encountered, which involved significant environmental problems that arose. So basically what we're doing is we're just asking for additional time. The original start date was intended to be 2022. We're now asking that to be extended to commence construction no later than December 31st of this year, with a 2-year construction period with an additional 6 months. And essentially, it's all related to having to deal with the environmental on the site.
Right. Great.
I have a question.
Waldy, Commissioner Waldy?
Commissioner Waldy, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Kelso, I think it came first in 2018, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's correct, right?
Yeah. Now, how come we didn't have any, how come we didn't know the issue with the environmental?
Well, actually there was environmental that was testified to at the time that we were here to get designated. What the memorandum suggests is that it was significantly greater than we knew it was at the time in 2018. Plus, there is a continuation of an eminent domain acquisition for 2, what I would call edge of the project properties that the city requested us to try to include in the project in order to clean up those particular sites.
No, okay.
That eminent domain process is in progress right now through your redevelopment council, Mr. Hoffman, who I'm looking at his handsome face now. And where we hope to be able to include those parcels, because it has it will clean up the site visually and from the environmental standpoint. But this is significantly greater environmental that was discovered rather than what we knew in 2018. Why? And that's why the delay.
So the additional parcels were no part of the project in 2018. So
They were considered at the time, but we hadn't formalized as part of our proposed site plan that they were actually going to be included. But
Oh,
they've since been included.
all right. Thank you.
Any other
Any other
questions?
comments?
Sorry, Chair.
You got it. Any other questions from the commissioners? Council liaison?
No questions.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. I'll need a motion in a second.
Move.
A motion.
Chair motions and second by Giorgiani.
Second, Dunlap.
Dunlap, sorry about Commissioner. Okay, roll call. Chairperson Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Pedix. Commissioner Pedix.
I'm sorry.
You got one
Yes.
There
I
you
thought
go.
you left us for that other meeting. No, I'm joking.
Never, never.
Commissioner Walde,
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez.
Abstain.
Thank you. Commissioner Giorgiani,
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap.
Yes.
Great. And Commissioner President Caldwell, you here yet? No? Okay. He's absent. All right. Let the
Thank you very
record reflect motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Fantastic.
Resolution number 3, acting as redevelopment agency. Resolution approving New Brunswick Plaza owner Urban Renewal LLC as redeveloper for property known as Block 120, 5.01, and on the New Brunswick tax map for the construction of a mixed-use residential commercial project located in the Lower George, number 2, redevelopment plan area. I understand through my legal counsel, through our legal counsel at the Housing Authority, John Hoffman, that the parties are here to discuss to the board any and all questions you may have. Mr.
I can summarize it since it's a brand new redevelopment plan just adopted by the city. And it permits a mixed use residential and commercial development. It's located in the Lower George, and it really consists of the Abundant Life Family Worship Church property, which will be divided into 2 lots. One lot will have a high-rise development consisting of 450 units. The other lot will have the church and 25 additional parking spaces. The project is a joint venture of Infinity LLC owned by Sharman Jacobowitz, SDJ NB Plaza LLC owned by George Seawright, and the Abundant Life Family Worship Church, which owns the property. The application and the property complies with the plan. The plan, it consists of a 45-story mixed-use building consisting of a mix of studio, 1-bedroom, and 2-bedroom units, of which 80 will be low and moderate income housing. Of the 80, 20 will be studio, 30 will be 1-bedroom, and 30 will be 2-bedroom. And they'll be interdispersed throughout the project. The project will also consist of retail space, a lounge, a lobby, a spa, a pool, for understand, and the 501 space parking deck. And on the other lot was the church will remain. That's the one that faces George Street, and there'll be 20 parking spaces. The applicant submitted information which you can review, indicating their past experience, both the applicant and their construction contractor, in constructing high-rise unit buildings, and also submitted their plan. Now, I just would like to, the redevelopment plan permits housing up to 350 feet or 35 stories. It permits another 10 stories if you provide low and moderate income housing, which they have. But those 10 stories have to be set back on only 20% of the property. So if you look at the plan, The plan shows all of the building and then shows this last 10 stories being set back. The redeveloper has substantial experience, both in constructing in Jersey City, Memphis, Tennessee, in New York City, both the redeveloper and their construction contractor. The evidence, they submitted evidence from 5 or 6 different entities indicating both construction debt financing and equity participation. The project's estimated to cost over $300 million. Construction will begin within 12 months after all governmental approvals, but not later than July 1, 2025, and be completed within 36 months or July 1st, 2028. What we're requesting is the approval of NB Plaza as the redeveloper, and it's subject to a redevelopment agreement, which will come back, which must be completed within 90 days. We have Tom Kelso here representing the redeveloper. He has his client here. They either further expand on the project and also answer any questions.
Thanks, John, and I appreciate the opportunity for the board to consider my client for designation as redeveloper on this project. It obviously is a very significant project, over $300 million. It fully is compliant with the Lower George II redevelopment plan. And it's the entity NB Plaza Urban Renewal LLC. It's an interesting dynamic that's going on here. We have Mr. Shimon Jacobowitz, who is the principal of the Fannie LLC, which are based out of Florida, but have done a lot of work in New York and New Jersey, but also in partnership with the Abundant Life Family Worship Church. I think most of the members of the board recognize that this property is actually, all this property is actually owned by Abundant Life Church. And it's a unique partnership to be able to bring together the church to develop on their land where they get an advantage of a participation in the project, while at the same time doing improvements to the lot that they're going to retain to upgrade it, provide a parking on site for them, and really creates, you know, a good marriage of different types of entities for a mutual benefit. I just want to correct one thing John said. I think he referred to 400 some units. It's an 800 unit project with 80 units being affordable units. I would say that the plan says a minimum of 10%, but depending on the types of financing that they're able to achieve for affordable units, there is right now reasonable opportunity they may be able to do more than 10%. They're exploring that now. It's important to note that we are committed to comply with the plan, so it's at least 10%. But with some of the Aspire project, which you're familiar with from the prior Penrose presentation, there's the Aspire program and other programs that they're exploring now with the opportunity to bring additional affordable units in. Part of the marriage between these entities that is beneficial to both is that the plan requires us to create 25 surface parking spaces for Abundant Life adjacent to their church. But in addition to that, of the 501 spaces that are being developed in the parking garage, 50 of those spaces are being dedicated to the church. So the church is getting the benefit of not only 25 new surface spaces, but also 50 spaces in the parking garage. I think, again, that's a benefit that benefits the community, benefits the church, and while at the same time creating, a significant new development in that location. It's kind of ironic that we're sitting here finishing listening to Tim Henkel talk too much for Penrose. This building is right across the street. So they're really being done in combination with each other. I had the privilege of representing Penrose. I kept my mouth shut, but I represented Penrose in that approval and had, I think, a really positive experience with the church, which, ended with the naming of the Hildebrand Commons, and now having the Abundant Life right next door to be able to get such a unique opportunity to improve the facilities for their church. It's kind of just ironic we're here at the same time talking about them in this context. Overall, I want to emphasize that it's fully compliant with the plan. I think that I will present 2 witnesses for you, and I've asked them to be brief, but we want to give you a flavor for the building itself, and we have some graphics for you to see. The first I'm going to call Chris Roach, our civil engineer, to just give a few minutes on engineering, and then Mr. John Zimmer, our resident architect, who is accredited in many states, right now waiting his certification in New Jersey, but we wanted him to make the presentation for you, and then obviously available to answer any questions you have. So at this point, unless there's questions for me, I would ask Mr. Chris Roach to show himself.
Good evening, everyone.
There he is. Okay.
Do I have the ability to share my screen?
Mr. Soto, I think you're gonna have to share
I hope somebody
moderator power for that. Dan?
Dan, you're muted. You're muted.
Oh, all right. Oh, Mr. Hoffman, he's like, thanks. Hold on a second. Here we go. All right, here we go. You got it, Chris?
I do. Thank you for that. There are a few familiar faces in the room. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Chris Roach. I'm a civil engineer with Langen. I'm a common attendee at the Planning and Zoning Board meetings in New Brunswick. I've probably been in front of those boards around 50 to 75 times in the last decade. I intend to be pretty brief this evening. I'm just going to describe the existing site location, surrounding features, and then I'll highlight some of the key civil engineering items before turning it over to the project architect. So as our attorney noted, the site's identified on the city tax map as Block 120, Lot 5.01. It's approximately 2.1 acres and generally bound by Morris Street to the north, Nielsen Street to the east, Tabernacle Way to the south, and George Street to the west. The site is presently occupied by the Abundant Life Church, along with associated parking areas. And currently there are 3 access points to the site, one off of George Street, one off of Morris Street, and one off of Nielsen Street. From a topographic perspective, the site generally slopes from George Street, which is around elevation 30, down to Nielsen Street, which is around elevation 20. And as Mr. Kelso mentioned 2 or 3 times, the entirety of the site is within the lower George Street 2 redevelopment plan. And with our future site plan application, we won't be seeking any variances from the bulk criteria of that plan. So what the applicant is proposing to construct on the property is a 45-story mixed-use building, which will contain retail components, structured parking, as well as residential units above. The building will have a footprint of approximately 40,500 square feet. Within that, it will have 25,000 square feet approximately of retail, 501 parking stalls, and the 800 residential units over top. As Mr. Kelso also alluded to, we will be constructing a 25-stall surface parking lot just to the north of the Abundant Life Church facility. With the new development, our primary proposed site access point will be off of Nielsen Street. That'll be a 24-foot wide drive. It'll provide access to the structured parking and will also provide access to our primary loading area. And the architect will show you a little bit more detail about these spaces here momentarily. From an overall parking perspective, we'll be fully compliant with the redevelopment plan. And what I mean by that is not only will we be providing the number of required parking stalls, we'll also be providing the amount of required electric vehicle parking stalls, as well as the required ADA parking stalls. The loading, as I mentioned, will be primarily done off of our Nielsen Street driveway. We're also proposing a small loading area on Morris Street where we anticipate smaller use loading vehicles, primarily to serve the retail spaces along Morris Street. From a stormwater management perspective, we'll be fully compliant with the state stormwater management regulations by installing an underground detention system. And then lastly, with the utilities, most of our utility services will be coming in off Nielsen Street, with the exception of some of our water lines, which will be coming off George Street. The reason for that exception is because there is larger existing infrastructure within George Street. The last thing I want to touch on, Mr. Kelso, was the proposed access. I mentioned that our primary access point will be off Nielsen Street. I anticipate this would be utilized 99 to 100% of the time. We do, however, have built into the design what I'll call a secondary access point, where we could get access to the structured parking from the proposed surface parking lot in George Street. The reason we're proposing this, in conversations with the city engineer, due to the amount of proposed utilities going beneath the Nielsen Street driveway, as well as an existing city culvert that runs underneath that driveway. If we ever needed to get to those utilities or ever needed to get to the culverts in an emergency scenario, we'd be able to close this drive, open up the secondary access without much issue. So, Tom, that was the high-level overview. I'm happy to answer any detailed questions on civil engineering, or we can go right to the architectural presentation.
I have no questions for Chris. If we want to move on to our architect, unless the board has questions at this point.
We'll wait until the end.
Chris, can you hear me clearly?
I can, yes, sir.
Chris, I have seen you present many times before. You're a highly qualified individual, so I'm going to bounce a question off you just for clarity and beseech your expertise. When you talk about the stormwater management portion of this project, listen, just anecdotally, us townies know that that street down there in Nielsen will become a lake in the instances of moderate rain. How is this protecting the residents that I guess are, what is that, south of this facility exactly?
The biggest thing we're doing, and it's a state requirement, it's not just us doing it, on all development projects, we're increasing impervious coverage compared to existing conditions. You're required to install detention measures to reduce the peak flow significantly compared to existing conditions leaving your site. So without getting into too much technical detail, for the 210 100-year storm event, we take what's running off the site now, and we're required to reduce that by 50, 25, and 20% for those storm events. So if this building, and when this building is constructed, the peak flow leaving our site and going to the downstream systems will be significantly less than it is today.
Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah. You have 80 units of affordable units. Are they in one section or they're distributed all over?
I'll let the architect
distribute it.
Yeah, but I will answer it because it's a question that's an expectation. The units are dispersed within the entire building. We can't just identify a location in the building and set them there. You wouldn't do that as a practical matter, but it's not permitted anyway. So they will be equally dispersed throughout the building.
Okay. On the site plan, there is a liquor store and a grocery. Is it part of the development?
It is not part of the development.
No. Okay.
All right. If
Chris, will you need to give me back as the host, and then I can give it to the architect if he has we've got nothing but PowerPoints tonight. This is amazing. PowerPoint instruction.
Fantastic.
Who's up next? What PowerPoint?
It's where are you, John?
I'm here. If you
John
want
Zimmer.
us to go, I don't know if you need to introduce me, Tom, or.
Yeah, before I do that, I don't want to be remiss. I would like to introduce the principal development client, Shimon Jacobowitz. I know he's on. He's hiding back there somewhere, but I just wanted to introduce you to know that he's here to say hello to you as a board. I know that he was on the screen before. I don't know where he is, but I just wanted to introduce him. And also George C. Wright Jr. from the Abundant Life Church, who's obviously a very interested spectator here tonight, to be, to make sure that you were aware that the church was also represented here. They're here somewhere.
Yes, how are you? We see them. Mr. C. Wright's a legend in his own right, so you're in good company there, Shimon.
Tom, I'm here.
Yeah, we see you. But
okay, very good.
Wright, you want to say a few words? You can. It's up to you before we move over to the other PowerPoint presentation.
No, we're very excited about this project, myself and my father. So we're very excited. Thank you.
Great. And Mr. Shimon, we liked your project, or at least I did. I'm not a voting member, so I can tell you. In Brooklyn, that's pretty sharp. That was a pretty sharp building.
And that's what we're looking forward to.
Yeah, I checked you out. It was really nice. I like that. All right. So Mr. Kelso, you want to introduce, the gentleman thinks he needs an introduction. So
Yeah. Yes, Mr. John Zimmer.
Would
You there,
like-
John?
Would you like to be the host, John?
He's muted, Tom.
He's not getting paid enough. See, he would have had that on, like, just keep it on.
Tom, he's muted.
No, he's, John, you're mute. You're mute.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good now.
Can hear you clearly.
Fantastic. Okay. I have been having some technology issues here tonight, so I just want to
As an architect,
introduce
you're
Mike.
not supposed to admit that.
Would you like to be the host? No.
Can I, please?
Chris, you got to give me the host power back.
At the risk of embarrassing myself, how do I do that?
Hit the 3 number, like go to my screen. There's like 3 little bullet points there, like periods. Hit that, and then it says make me the host. You actually can make John the host direct from your site.
All right, we'll see.
Go to John.
John Zimmer, make host.
There you go.
Go ahead, John, you're the host.
And there I go. Okay, great. So thank you all for letting me share this. We are also excited about the project. I am John Zimmer with Fogarty Finger Architecture in New York. Within our office, I am very focused on the New Jersey aspects of the practice, and I've overseen the design and the construction of many projects in predominantly in Jersey City and Hoboken, and I'm excited to be working in New Brunswick. It's a great project. It's a great site. It's an opportunity to make something really special, and we're excited to be a part of it. It's a lot of things happening in New Brunswick, and this is a neat part of the city, and the whole Lower George redevelopment intentions and zoning are very much in line with the kind of work that we want to be a part of. And the project overview you heard from Tom, but this slide is meant to show just the big picture, what it is that we're what is the building by the numbers in its basics: 45 stories, 800 apartments, studios 1s and 2s, and these 80 minimum affordable units. And you can see the breakdown of those here on your screen. It's a 6-story parking structure, including a cellar parking level that's broken up into a combination of self-park and valet, and we'll show you how that works when we get to the plans. And of course, we have the 50 spaces for the church in the structured parking and another 25 spaces in a surface lot. And there's approximately 25,000 square feet of retail as well. It's predominantly a residential building, and these 800 units are going to form a community almost unto itself. But of course, we're very focused on how that fits into the larger community. But it's not just a residential building. It's also got this very exciting component to it, which Ifni and George brought to the project from the start, which is the idea of a destination retail venue that would attract people from all around. And you could, this is one concept for what it might be, which would be it could be a Brooklyn Bowl, which, if you're familiar with it, they have live music there, and there's a restaurant and bowling, and it's just kind of a multi-purpose entertainment center. Or there could be climbing walls or fitness aspects to it. But just the idea that this is not just a clothing store, but a place where people gather. It's an assembly space, and it's a place where people want to go and have a good time. From an architectural perspective, we based it on influences of the site, and there are many things that make the site exciting. And I mentioned already its relationship to the kind of already built up portions of downtown New Brunswick, and its kind of first or next, link in the necklace, or whatever you want to call it, that leads you down to the Lower George area down here. The proximity to the river is quite lovely. and it will, as we get up to the upper levels, allow some pretty fantastic views. And my Google Earth is going to freeze on me and not allow you to see it, but you actually will see all of these skylines from the upper levels of the apartments, which is kind of fantastic. So these are the influences on the site, influences on the site, the river, the views, the relationship to downtown. And that is kind of the driver of the basic geometry, basic massing, and orientation of the building. It's this, for much of its height, it is this L-shaped building. And as somebody pointed out, we get up above a certain height and we step back and it becomes more of a simple slab. But it's predominantly this L shape, and the L is open to kind of the existing part of downtown and this to critical, what we see as a very important intersection of George and Morris, and kind of the view of the building as you come down this way. But then also, the views of the skylines in the distance, the views over the river, and kind of taking the geometry of the river and using that as an influence. We're on this bend in the river and making that kind of soften the kind of strict L shape of the tower and forming a kind of receiver or a cup that welcomes downtown. And that leads directly to the basic footprint of the building. And this is, I'll get back and get deeper into the plans in a moment, but I just wanted to show you basically that the design didn't come from nowhere, that it has been considered, that it is responsive to the site and to the context, and that we are both aware of and participating in the kind of larger urban goals of the redevelopment plan. And let me just go back to, I cannot go back to full screen. You're well familiar with the site. You already listened to Chris's presentation. It is currently undeveloped. There's nothing to tear down to build the property, which is always a nice thing. Basic site plan you also got from Chris. I'm not going to dwell on it too much, but you see this L shape of the tower again. This is the church over here. This is the grocery, the Bravo, here on the corner of Morris and George. And then I'll take a little time to go through the ground floor experience and the basics of the plan and how you access the building. Let me zoom in here a minute. So just to orient you again, this is Morris on the right-hand side of the plan and Nielsen on the bottom of the plan. And the sloping site makes it a little bit difficult to understand the ground floor, because if you're high up on Morris Street, the same level that is at grade on Nielsen is underground at the upper corner of Nielsen. So you have to kind of take the ground floor in two pieces. But the main residential building entrance is off of Nielsen, and there's a pull-out proposed here. And you can see the kind of front door of the residential building and its lobby. And then even further here. So if you're in an Uber or getting dropped off by somebody, you would pull into this pull-out. Or if you're a pedestrian coming from the train, you'd be walking down the sidewalk and you'd come in through this main lobby entrance, which gives you access to the main elevator cores of the building. There are a total of 5 passenger elevators, low rise and high rise. So not all elevators stop on all floors. Low rise elevators here and high rise are here. And then usual multifamily amenities, package room, leasing office, mail room on this side. This is the driveway that Chris was discussing. You can see dashed in here this city culvert that he was referring to, which, we've met with the city engineers. They're okay with us using this as a driveway. And keep in mind that the cemetery to the left has a steeply sloping hill here. So this driveway is screened from the surroundings by the topography. It's deeper than the at grade of the cemetery up here once you get up to the top of this hill. Loading docks are your first turn off of the driveway here, and you have a dedicated freight elevator for the building. This allows you to pull in with your moving truck, and it could be, the biggest apartment is a 2-bedroom apartment. It's probably one of these smaller trucks that people will be moving into the apartments with. The bigger trucks are really seen for the destination retail use, but you pull in your truck and you or your movers would have access to this dedicated freight elevator, take you up to the building, up to your floor, and you could unload and move into your apartment. The great thing about having a dedicated freight is you're not moving in through the front door, you're not having any traffic out here on the street, and you're not going through or impacting the vertical circulation for the rest of the tenants. So a really nice functionality to have for a very large building like this. Also from the loading is a dedicated elevator for the use of the destination retail. So they're loading, they will have large loading and unloading and trash operations. So they have a dedicated elevator for their use that is also directly accessible from the loading dock. And it's this at-grade retail, which is not small, is still 6,000 square feet of retail, that would probably be loading and unloading from the smaller loading zone that Chris indicated that's here on Morris. You'll see there's two parking entrances. One of them, the first one is for self-park, and that goes up, and the spaces for the church would be on these first 2.5 levels of the parking deck of the self-park structured parking. You can see the EV spaces are labeled on the plans. We do comply with the requirements for EV spaces and for accessible, ADA accessible spaces. So you go up to self-park levels, you go down to a valet level for the parking. And I can just jump quickly to the seller plan. Hopefully. There we go. Oops. Let me see if I can get it back here. There we go.
You're good.
I wasn't lying when I said I was having tech problems. It's been doing that to me all night. So hopefully.
Well, you've done a good job so far.
Thank you. I'm spending a lot of time on this plan. I don't mean to bore everyone, and I know I'm meant to be brief. I think you want to know how the building works, so I apologize if I'm being too long-winded, but I'll speed it up here. Valet parking comes down here. You drop off your car with a valet. You've got some parking stackers here. So a lot of, you can see 220 spaces in the valet operation. Also building services and building management, back of house building management operations are down here in the cellar level. That detention tank that Chris was mentioning is kind of on a sandwich level overhead of those back of house spaces. And again, with a sloping site, what you have is the entrance to the kind of destination retail, which is here on the upper right-hand corner of the plan on the right, is a full story above the entrance to the residential lobby. You come in here, and this is where their passenger elevators are to take you up to the destination retail, which is on the 7th floor. So, and this is also the church parking lot is a full story above the typical driveway entrance down here. So that temporary access or emergency access to the garage from the church is also up here on this upper level. Residential units start right away on the 2nd floor, but these are the high volumes of these double height spaces that you see on the rest of this plan. Working our way up through the building, on 3 sides, the parking garage is lined with residential units. This is always a great thing. It means you're not just building, a tower on top of an expressed 6-story parking garage. You actually see residential units and life and lights and people moving around and activity instead of just a parking garage. So this is, on both Nielsen and Morris, which are our 2 street frontages, you get residential units. And we'll get into more detail on what those units are a bit later. The 6th floor is currently proposed to be a combination of parking and some of our building amenity spaces. the building will have approximately 15,000 square feet of interior amenities. These will consist of lounges, fitness rooms, co-working spaces, kids' rooms, these kinds of things. And they're located in various areas throughout the building. And then when you get up to 7, you see you have, this destination retail. This is showing this bowling concept. So you would come in on your dedicated elevators up to the top floor. You would check in. You would have this bowling alley, or it, we don't have a tenant locked in yet. Ownership doesn't have a tenant locked in yet, but some concept like this, where you'd have an activity space and then a restaurant space. They would be double height. It would have, decent views going out over Morris Street. And again, their back of house space is a buffer zone between that retail and the residential units. And you can see their dedicated freight elevator is coming up in their back of house space. But the two will never know each other are there. The point is to not have a direct connection between this residential and this retail. You don't really want that direct of a connection. With these units, the quality of these units is, I think, enhanced if they are just independent. So they're still using their elevator core. This is the upper volume of those double height spaces. You get a larger suite of amenities up here on the 9th floor, and an expansive outdoor terrace. You can see there's 16,000 square feet of outdoor roof space that would be amenitized. That might include, sports areas, barbecue areas. There's a pool here at the end. There would be a deck with chaises around it. Active, fun space. And again, with you're up at the 9th floor at this point, so with good views out. Above this amenity floor, it becomes predominantly residential. You see this L-shaped plan again. So the river is below us. We're picking up and receiving this kind of views of downtown New Brunswick. And this important corner over here, you see from that sketch I showed earlier, these kind of softening, these curves that are sliced out of the building. The L-shaped floor plan and the low-rise elevators go up to the 34th floor. On 35, there's a smaller amenity suite and another outdoor terrace over the roof of that space, again with more residential units. And then above that, it becomes a simple bar shape that goes up to the 45th floor. Basic building section, and again, everything is in compliance with the redevelopment plan, 45 stories, 450 feet, lot coverage, all aspects of building bulk are completely in compliance with the redevelopment plan. There's a section through the lower part of that L-shaped tower, so it's basically cut east-west looking south at the larger tower behind you. This one on the left is cut north-south looking east, and you are seeing the full 45 stories of the tower. You see this amenity level with its walkout. You see the structured parking with its liner of residential spaces. You see this destination retail space sitting on top of that structured parking. Quality of the units is very important. As an office and personally, we are super dedicated to providing great living spaces for the people who occupy our buildings. There are many types of units, the floor plans, there are these curves and there are corners and there are many things, but this is a representative sample of the kinds of units. In New York, we do studios as small as 400 square feet or even less. These are over 500 square foot studios. You see that they have many of them, not 100%, but many of them have these sleeping alcoves in them, even when they're studios. And even with closet space off of that sleeping alcove, this practically rates as a junior 1 bedroom, except that the sleeping alcove isn't on the windows. 17 feet of frontage on the living area of the studio. It's fantastic. The one bedroom, many walk-in closets in the one bedroom apartments. Common complaint, not enough storage, right? So walk-in closet, in-unit washers and dryers for every unit in the building. Peninsula kitchen, room for a dining table because you've got enough depth here. It's not a, it's not a squished unit where you can't fit a dining table in it. Obviously, all aspects of the living units comply with accessibility laws, bathrooms, clearances at doors, everything else. Two-bedroom apartments usually split to support either families or roommate situations with a master bedroom on one side and a 2-sink lav, 4-fixture bath. Again, large walk-in closets for both bedrooms, in-unit washer dryers, and then a shared bath here. So just to go over some more renderings and views of the building. We are excited to be, you can see this kind of march of taller buildings from across the river, and we are the next one. And you have a combination of red brick, gray metal panel. We think a nice counterpoint to it would be this. It's a curtain wall building. This kind of bone-colored, ivory-colored metal panel. And glass. We break up the facade into multi-story units. It helps to give the building a sense of scale. I'm sure you've all seen buildings where every floor is its own little rectangle. This tries to take a slightly different approach and say we suppress some of the horizontals so that we can create a 4-story grouping of floors that, again, kind of lends the building a bit of a sense of scale. You can see this taller 45-story portion, and this is the lower 34-story portion here of the L shape. And it is kind of a building on a base concept. It has this residential portion that wraps the parking, is 6 stories tall. And you can see that the tower portions are generally set back from that on Nielsen and on Morris, which also allows, I think, just kind of an interesting massing and an attractive massing to the building. View from George Street and Morris, that corner. You can see the Bravo grocery here in front of you, and I guess the UAW building here on the left. And you can see this curving kind of catcher's mitt for the views and for the response to downtown. The ground floor retail is very important. It helps to support pedestrian life and activity. There is a substantial amount of ground floor retail here. It is tall. It's extensively glazed and transparent. We want to see this as a wonderful, active streetscape. People going in and out of what might be restaurants or clothing stores or whatever they might be, whatever tenants end up taking the space. But it's meant to be between these street level retail opportunities and the destination retail up on the 7th floor, just a really vital and energetic addition to the life of New Brunswick. So this is looking kind of across Nielsen. You see the residential building entrance here under this prominent canopy that helps to mark that entrance. The pull off on Nielsen here, you come in through these double doors. Retail along here. We kind of hope this is a coffee shop that actually goes with the building lobby. It's always a nice adjacency to have. You pass in and out, and there I go again. We're almost done. This would be a building lounge on the left. I see there's a lot of interior design development that has to happen. This is a preliminary rendering, but it would be an attractive, warm space. You'd see residents of the building hanging out there. And then everything that you're seeing from here, again, is not parking garage. It's residential units. These would have apartments behind these windows, not ventilation for garage. And that's it. That's the overall of the building. And any questions, I guess.
Did a great
Thank you.
job, John.
Fantastic presentation.
Chairman, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's a fantastic presentation, John. It's a beautiful looking building. That's all I wanted to say. And Dan, let's turn it over to questions.
Absolutely. The chair was gracious enough to open it up to the public. And we're going to do that. So
I
first,
have a question before the public.
oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah, I have like 3 questions. Is Abundant Life, are they partners or part owners?
Well, I'm not sure what the distinction is.
Are they owners?
Yeah, they are partners and in a partnership of ownership because they currently own the land, so they have a partnership interest in the entity, correct?
Okay. Are they involved in during the rental period? Are they involved in recruiting clients, especially for the affordable units?
I don't know the answer to that, but I'm sure that they will have a major role to play, particularly with identifying the affordable units and helping out with the advertisement for that. But
Okay.
I'm sure they'll play a major role.
Okay. On the financing side, I think there is a commitment of 60 million by Jet Capital, 30
Yeah.
million by equity M plus CF, and equity financing by Seraphim. And the total development cost is like 300 something million.
A little over 300 million.
Yeah. And what I see here is only 90 million. So I don't know, maybe I missed something.
Shimon, you might want to maybe fill that out a little bit for us.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing is more the financial, the equity besides the construction loan. On the construction loan is the Galaxy that was provided to you.
Yes.
We just got some recent letters showing that there's 2 entities that will give a construction loan.
Correct.
Excuse me? I didn't hear you.
I said, we got some recent indication from 2 different financial entities that they would be giving a construction loan. One, I think, is $275 million. So that was a gap that I talked to Mr. Kelso with, and that was, I don't know whether you've gotten those letters yet. Tom, did Dan Toto get those letters?
Did who get?
Did Dan get them?
Yes.
Do we have those letters, Dan?
No.
On the rest of the capital stack, the construction loan to match the equity?
Yeah,
I think that we provided the equity at 90 million.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and the potential for equity may be a little over 100 million, but I think that's still, what Shimon is doing is they're out in
significant.
We just wanted to show you they got $90 million.
And also we have a construction, a letter of construction commitment for, I think, Shimon, it's $275 million.
Yes.
Will we be able to get the letter of commitment?
Well, this is conditioned on a redevelopment agreement coming back to you. And when the redevelopment comes back, we'll have more of the financing plan and the actual commitments.
Yeah, I mean, I think
what the commissioner's asking for, pardon me, I think what the commissioner's asking for is the letter that you have currently. Are we able to get that?
Yes, because it's, I think Dan has it. If not, I can send it to anybody.
Yeah, we thought you had it already.
My legal counsel had it. I don't have a copy in my possession, but
no, you just have 2 of them. That's why.
That legal counsel. Well, I mean, Mr. Hoffman, I'm not concerned about Mr. Kelso. He's on the other side technically, but Mr. Hoffman has it. I'm good, and then the board will get it. But I think your point's well taken, Mr. Kelso. He's got 90 million plus, and we've cleared some hurdles.
Yeah, what we typically do in these kind of agreements, this is a preliminary stage right now because, I mean, the reality is you're not going to have all of your financing in place before you're even designated because you got to go through a process. At some point, we will provide a full financial plan. which is called for in the redevelopment agreement. And that may be within 9 months or a year where we have a full financial plan in place. By that time, we have a better understanding of the overall cost of the project. They've been able to project out what their revenue projections are, and that allows them to get their construction and permanent financing in place and likely additional equity participation. But it was important for you to see that they're sitting on $90 million right now in equity, which makes this, a viable project at this stage, and then to be filled out with a full financial plan down the road.
And that's all going to be required in the redevelopment agreement.
Yeah, I mean, it's no different than even when Devco does the Helix project. They're not showing you a construction commitment. They're still applying for tax credits.
Right.
All of that is in a process, but we're showing you the path. And then we get to the end of the path and you get the plan.
And you did mention that early on, Mr. Kelso, about fire and exploring different avenues. You did cover.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, they got 30% equity, man. All right, what other questions do we have?
Before I open it up to the public, that counts for my liaison and the rest of the members of NBHA Housing Redevelopment Board. You can ask your questions now. You can also ask them later. Okay.
Another from the board, liaison, public. Okay.
Chair,
I'm
Yeah, hi.
the public.
Charlie.
Oh,
Oh,
go ahead.
sorry. Is it my turn?
Go ahead, sir. I'll go after you.
No, ladies first.
Okay.
Sorry, Charlie. Who was up?
Charlie was up. Go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Good evening once again. I got to start by pointing out I was led to believe I was going to be able to make comments on the first resolution that the board adopted, but it wasn't open to the public, so I didn't get that chance, and I'll hold those comments and questions till later in the meeting. Hopefully I'll get the chance to put them on the record at least. But as far as this project goes, I wanted to say it's pretty obviously the largest development in the history of New Brunswick, if I'm not mistaken. I think we're in the middle of a housing crisis, so I'm inclined to support large developments, but I want to know why only 10% affordable housing. I mean, the other project in the same neighborhood we heard about that Penrose is working on, much more affordable. This if we're doing 800 units, why only 10% affordable?
No, hold on. First of all, the plan provides for 10% minimum. I already indicated to you that we are looking to do an additional over 10%, but it will depend on the funding availability for those affordable units. As you know, Charlie, that funding needs to be part of any affordable units that you do. But my client's optimistic at this point that they're going to do more than 10%, but they comply with the plan currently and they need to move forward. I would also say that I'm not diminishing a $300 million project, but that's only half the cost of Helix 1. So yeah, there are other larger projects that are happening.
I guess if you look at it in terms of money, but I'm looking at
That's
terms
what
of
you
housing units.
Oh no, it's the bigger. I think from a residential perspective, this is the largest and the tallest.
Right, by far. So I think it was put on the record the principals are Mr. Jacobowitz, Mr. Seawright, and the church itself.
Yeah.
Can I understand the split between the three? Are they three equal partners, or is what is the cut?
It's not that simple. Each has a different participation element to it associated with land value, with preferred returns. It's not something that it's required to be made public. You need to know who the owners are over 10% and their ability to complete the project. But I will say all of them are participants.
Okay. And I did want to understand in terms of experience, do any of the principals, any of the folks doing this project, have they built anything of this magnitude, anything of this size, 800 units?
Right. We provided the information as part of the application that is a combination of Mr. Jacobowitz's company that has done similar projects, but not necessarily this many units, but they are partnered with a construction company out of New York City that has done work with them previously, who have done substantial high rises in New York City.
Okay, and the name of that
They've
company?
done up to 600.
Yeah, Ray
Just
Construction.
wanna add-
Ray's Construction.
And I want to add that they've done a lot in the state of New Jersey as well.
Okay, yeah, it's Ray Builders Inc.
Okay. I did, understand that the architect was saying it's very much in line with the redevelopment plan for the Lower George Street too. And I couldn't help but note that this plan was crafted in response to this proposal, right? The redevelopment plan exists because the developers came to them and said, we want to build this. So it's not a surprise that it's in line with the plan that was approved. And I will note that the city council initially rejected the plan and voted it down before changing their mind and voting it in. And I just think if we're going to proceed with what is, by some measures, the largest development in the history of the city, we would be wise to, proceed with caution and not rush it. So I guess I'm just a little bit looking for more information here. Like, for instance, the authority website has nothing about this on it. I saw the slides tonight that were presented, and there was a lot there, and some of it was impressive, but the public and I think even leaders in the city haven't really had a chance to review it yet. So it seems somewhat premature to jump in and designate a redeveloper, just given the lay of the land here. But that said, I'm interested in learning more about it. I think that it's promising if it can be something that provides affordable housing, and it's also just completely underutilized land. However, have some concerns, and so I've put some of those on the record, and I hope that the developer and the developers council and the housing authority board will continue to have a dialogue, whatever happens tonight on this project, that there'll be additional opportunities to ask questions and make suggestions and have input on it for not just me, but everyone else in the city of New Brunswick. So I think that's all I have on this item. I just want to confirm there'll be an additional public comment later to talk more.
Let me just respond briefly to Charlie. Yes, it is typical, not only in New Brunswick, but in all major redevelopment areas, to have a combination of a plan that's being proposed to work with the city planning authority in order to determine what is the best approach to the redevelopment that someone is coming forward with and proposing. It's a combination of recognizing what the developer wishes to do, as opposed to what the city feels from its own expertise in developing the city as a whole, it's willing to do. And the city's responsibility is to look to beyond the site and to see the nature of how it fits in to what the city's vision is for a particular area. And that's what results in a new redevelopment plan, an upgraded redevelopment plan. And yes, that's a process that's very typical. I also would point out when Charlie talks about additional times for input, as he knows, this is only the first step in the process. What this board is doing is approving the redeveloper and its concept because of the information that we provide to you. But the city process is only beginning. Obviously, this has to go before the city's planning board, and a lot of the items that typically, even the things that we talked about tonight, are vetted by the planning board. And I want to recognize that it's not just the city council that adopted this, but it goes to the planning board. The planning board reviews the plan and sends it back to the council for action. I would comment on the fact that, yes, this was previously not adopted. I think there was confusion over the affordable units and the inclusion of affordable units, which was clarified, and the city council unanimously approved it. So again, there's a vetting process that still goes on before the planning board, and Charlie, I'm sure you'll be there. So but this is really the first step. Yeah, of course.
Thank you, Mr. Kelso. Charlie, any other questions on this topic? Because we got a couple
Yep.
hands here.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure there'll be another public comment opportunity. That's correct.
I'm going to give you some. Yes, sir. All right.
Okay, thank you. That's
Thank
all
you,
for me
Charlie.
on this.
Okay. Zach, remind me about the public comment. I kind of rushed it before to get to this
Yeah,
topic.
yeah, yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
Andrea, with your hand up.
Hey there, everybody. Yeah,
Hello.
the gentleman prior stole some of my thunder, so I'm going to have to hit you all with another thunderbolt. So, looking at this project, just the size, the scale, and the scope of it, it really appears that there's been a lack of transparency. As the gentleman said prior, this wasn't listed on the website for the city. Again, I was a little concerned by that, and I just have some concerns about whether or not the public's being fully involved in this process, just given how large the project is. Additionally, when you think about developers, it would seem to me that the best way to kind of ensure that the church is getting the best deal is to open this up for some sort of competitive process to make sure that they kind of have the best deal on the plate. That's just sort of like something that kind of happens, right? You want to kind of pitch what you got to make sure that you're getting the best deal. And making sure that the folks,
I would just want to respond.
I'm sorry, sir. Let me just finish because I'm on a roll. If you don't mind, thank you so much. Right, and so when you look at the pictures, right? I mean, 800 units. That's really a lot, right? So I wouldn't be surprised in terms of like valuations for the land. I mean, it has to be up there, right? 75 million. I don't know, throwing out big numbers, whatever it is, it's a big darn number. And so it would seem to me that the church really needs to be made aware of what they're sitting on. It's a gold mine, and it's a once in a lifetime opportunity for their organization to really benefit from the land, right? So, in terms of affordable housing units, how does that align with their mission, right? Do they want more affordable housing units, and how can that kind of be set up so that happens, right? The surrounding community, how will that impact the surrounding community, right? It's great that 75 parking spots are going to be allocated, but a community is more than 75 parking spots, right? And not for nothing, the elephant in the room is it's gentrification, right? So how does that kind of fit in with the broader community? Like I looked at the mock-ups, they were great, very new age. I love the idea of a coffee shop, but in looking at all those people down there, it definitely looked very, very Brooklyn. And I used to live in Brooklyn, right? It looked very downtown. So I don't know. I just think that there needs to be a lot more transparency. I think that there needs to be a level of mindfulness on behalf of all parties to just make sure that the folks involved are the right folks, that people are getting paid what they need to get paid, and that everyone is happy and satisfied at the end. Yeah, and those are really my comments. So
I
a lot
would
more
just
transparency. Yes, Tom.
Hold on one second, Counselor. Andrea, have you completed your comment?
Yeah, I think for the most part I hit on all the big
All right.
things.
Just want to make sure so we're not talking over each other.
I appreciate you, ZM.
Counselor, thank you very much.
Yes, with respect to Andrea, and I appreciate what you're saying, but I would respond to the notion that it's the housing authority as the redevelopment agency's responsibility to decide what's in the best interest of the church. Obviously, the church owns its property. It knows what its mission is. It knows, for example, what parking they need, and they know from their own experiences what the value of their property is, and to be able to.
I hear you, Thomas. I hear you, Thomas.
Andrew, hold on one second. Andrew, we got to let him speak. We got to let him complete. He's on a roll, if you will.
Okay.
Reasonable people could disagree on that, but I'm just suggesting to you, I think the church would be taken aback by the thought that somebody else is going to tell them what the best way is to develop their property.
Oh, no.
What value is.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
But I appreciate what you're suggesting, and I'm not, I think to the extent that nothing is posted on the website, that's not this developer's responsibility to do. It's followed its rules. It followed the plan. The public had an opportunity to speak at 2 council meetings. It had an opportunity to speak at the planning board meeting when the plan was developed. The public process has been followed. So I don't want your comments to imply that somehow this is some form of surreptitious activity. We follow the rules. We do the public responsibility, and there's still more to come, because the planning board has to be involved in the actual site plan. But I did want to just make the point about the church. I think the church has a right to make its own
Well,
decision.
and I appreciate that, Thomas.
And hold on 1 second. I want to interject here. And we also happen to have the church on the call.
Oh no, and that's great. No, I guess I'm just a little sensitive towards the topic. So I just think in general, like when you have folks that have property, right? And this has been something that historically has happened when people have property and they're not necessarily experts in evaluating property or assessing property, and they're trying to engage in financial, very large deals. They might not have the level of fluency, right, about the topic, right? So we hear all the time about how folks are, given a certain amount of money for a certain piece of property, and then they were jimmy jammed. So that's not a dictionary word, that's my word, but I think that we can kind of understand the spirit of that. So I'm glad that the church is on the line. I would just encourage them to make sure that they do their due diligence, and to make sure that they're getting the right amount of money and getting everything that they want from the deal, as is their right, given it's their property. And that's it. So
solid. Do we have any other comments from the public?
Zach, can I say something real quick?
Absolutely.
I appreciate, Mr. Kelso, you clarifying this council position on this. It did pass on city council. The first time there were some questions. I was one of them that had some questions about it. So it is support, this plan is supported by the city council. It is a massive, a big development. So it is, I know that all of us are doing due diligence. I appreciate people commenting, but we are doing the due diligence. And I think that, I hope that, that at the end, we'll see the results that is going to be of benefit to the community and doesn't impact that community in a negative way, right? Looking at it, I like to look at things that are going to be beneficial at the end for that part of the community. And that's part of my community because I live very very close to that area. So I'm looking forward to continue this conversation and see where we go from it. And hopefully I might be able to afford one of those apartments when, once it's done. But I just wanted to say that to clear out that, so thank you for that clarification in terms of city council, Mr. Kelso.
I thank you, Rebecca.
Well said, Madam President. Zach, I don't think there's any more public comment. We'll give you like a 3-second countdown. Holler out now or forever hold your breath.
I think we're good. I'm not seeing anything in the public about that. All right. Okay, fantastic. Do we have any comments from the remaining commissioners? Sometimes things are brought up when you hear the public speak.
I thought Doug had a comment.
Doug, Commissioner Pettix, you're on mute.
No, okay.
No, thank you, Yorgu. I don't have a comment. Appreciate it.
All right. I'd like to comment on this if it's okay. As of right now, that site is nothing, right? It's a dirt patch downtown, and we're proposing doing something spectacular there. And I do understand the community's consideration about making sure that it positively affects the surrounding area. But right now, it's doing nothing for the surrounding area. So if there is a way to thread this needle and put what I do agree with Charlie is the largest residential development we've seen probably in the history of the city down there in a way that benefits the surrounding folks, let's do it. And we're working with the church and they have their own following and participants, and I'm sure they're all involved. One of my questions about this, and feel free to answer me as quickly as you have the information, local labor in building this thing. One of the things that benefits the area is jobs created, albeit temporary, through the process of construction. Is that something that's available to folks out here? Is that something that's being actively pursued?
Yeah, as part of your typical redevelopment agreement, there is a priority given to local residents for certain job opportunities within the construction industry. And yes, that's part of a program that you've been running for years through the authority. I would also indicate that the project will be built with union labor.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I just wanted to comment on the record. That's all. Go ahead.
Yeah, we use Section 3 labor, but that's only for federal money. So if he goes and gets some federal money somehow, yeah. But we have a good labor base. I'll give him a list if it goes forward and so on. So, yep.
Mm-hmm.
So Zach, without any further ado, if you're done, let's move for a motion in a second.
Okay, well, I motion.
Sorry, Mr. Pettix has a question.
Oh, no, I'll make the motion unless the chairman wants to make the motion.
I'm not going to fight you for this. Make the motion.
Mr. Pettit makes a motion, second by Chairperson Wright.
Second, yes.
Roll call, Chairperson Wright.
Yes.
Commissioner Pettit.
Yes.
Commissioner Walde.
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez.
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap.
Yes.
And Dale Cole is not with us, but he did text me. He said he's on the hook for the first dinner up at Centenary. All right, but he's not with us tonight. Motion passes. Congratulations. You've been designated as the new redeveloper.
All right, thank you very much, members.
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Counselor.
We still have some more work ahead of us. Some of you don't want to be on them. You guys can be excused. Tell the guy, John, who gave the, oh, he left. He's got to give me back access. He never
Zimmer,
gave me
he's here.
No, he's
We'll find you in Hoboken, buddy. Come on, give us back.
I'm looking at him.
He's got,
You're
he's,
the host
I'm
now.
not the host.
You're the
I'm
host.
like- all right. Either way.
You got it, Dan.
Thank you. Thank
You
you.
are now, Dan.
I am the host. That's awesome.
Thank you so much, everyone.
thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Yeah,
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on here. Next resolution on your agenda is the third one down, which starts with number 5. So it's NBHA Resolution 2024, number 5. Resolution approving, authorizing, and ratifying payment of bills for January 2024.
A motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
That's Mr. Giorgiani. Oh, I got the wrong box. Sorry. Okay, roll call. Chairperson Wright.
Yes.
Commissioner Pettit.
Yes.
Commissioner Walde.
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez.
Yes.
Mr. Giorgiani.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap.
Yes.
And Caldwell's absent. Motion passes. NBHA Resolution 2024, resolution for ratifying, authorizing, approving payment for vehicle purchase from Gentili Ford on the state bid list for $54,999. I'll need a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion. to
I'll
accept.
second.
Okay, Georgiana motion. Hernandez second. Roll call, Chairperson Wright.
Yes.
Commissioner Pettit.
Yes.
Commissioner Walde.
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez.
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap.
Yes, again.
Yes, we got about 8 more. Mr. Caldwell absent, motion passes. Sorry, resolution passes. NBHA Resolution 2024, number 7. Apologize. Resolution to authorize and approve annual auditing services contracted to Giampolo and Associates not to exceed $17,570.
Motion.
It's an annual
Second.
award, by the way. Okay, great. It's an annual award, I wanted to say. Motion, second by Medina Hernandez. Roll call, Chairperson Wright.
Yes.
Commissioner Pettit.
Yes.
Commissioner Walde.
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez.
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap.
Yes.
And Caldwell's not here. Resolution passes. NBHA Resolution 2024, number 8, resolution for using contractor for emergency work in the amount of $20,197.96 to be paid with CFP funds, which is outside the scope of a current awarded contractor and balances. Work to include heating repair, flood repair, structural integrity repair, and that cost is going up because it was in a unit that had some structural problems, major structural problems. I backed it up in case HUD comes in and wants to see with pictures, videos, very demanding stuff from the staff that had to get in there and underneath the ground to get pictures. That's
I
all
have a
want.
question on this.
Yes.
how come it's out of the contract? Don't we have a person who's working on this
Yes.
already in a contract?
Yes. So what happens is, let's say we give you 150,000 contract and an emergency happens. HUD allows you to go outside the scope, and I'll stand corrected, Mr. Manfredi, please interrupt me if I'm wrong. HUD allows you to go outside the contract and use monies for an emergency purpose that does not count against the contract. So if we happen to get two emergencies and they were totaling 60,000 each, that contractor who had bid for unit modernization would be out, and we would have no money left over for any other tenant. So they allow you to go ahead and do that. Counsel?
That's well said, Director. That's exactly what it is. Emergencies are a different procedure. Once we have a life safety matter with regard to our residents, HUD and the state of New Jersey allow the director to go outside the contract and address the immediate life safety matters. And then, as the director indicated, that is documented and the monies are paid from, as the resolution indicates, a separate fund outside the contract or outside the contract. Because they're not emergencies, the specific emergencies cannot be anticipated at the time the contract is entered into.
That's a great question, though. I mean, you should hold me accountable, hold the staff accountable. We provide everything. That's why I demand pictures and videos and so on. This particular unit lost the entire bottom beam. That's like a spaghetti. Stairs.
No, I just needed a clarification. I'm not concerned about the procedures.
No, you should be though. Hey, listen.
Pictures, but I want to see pictures.
Yeah.
We have them.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if this is
Take me out to dinner. I'll show you all the pictures.
Yeah, and just a question, and I'm the new guy on the team here. So I don't know whether it's for either Mr. Toto or Mr. Manfredi to answer this. Is there any way to do sort of a consent agenda in the future where we combine these together, we explain them, and then we vote once on all the resolutions? Is that something that's permitted in something like this? I know it's permitted for council.
I can answer that question, but since I'm paying Joe, or we're paying Joe, he should answer it. Go ahead, Joe.
Yes, the board can do a consent agenda if it wishes.
Okay.
Some housing authorities and public entities do consent agendas as long as you read all the resolutions out, as long as any questions by the board members are answered before the vote is called.
Okay.
He is absolutely right. The reason I don't like consent agendas, and I got to tell you why. Let's say you want to abstain. Let's say you want to vote no on something. Now, it's not always a formal, so it takes a little longer, but I don't have to go back and retract and say, oh, who abstained and who did this and who. So I read them one at a time, try to get through as quickly as I can. I already know that I've given it to you the month or a few days before. But every agenda will not have this many. The reason we had this many is because Joe and I wanted to go over the procurement process that was being done previous to me taking over. We want to make sure we didn't miss anything. I went through Zach to get that permission. Therefore, asking you guys for special permission for a 60-day extension, only on time, not on money, so we could get our hands around this animal a little better, if I may say, of the resolutions that we had to go out based on the vendors. Is that good, Mr. Pettix?
Thank you.
Great. Chair, where was I?
That's a solid question. We were explaining the condition of the units, and we're taking the vote on it. You just
got to take the vote. Okay. Motion in a second.
Motion.
Second.
Oh, Ms. Medina Hernandez, second. Okay. 1, 2. Roll call. Chairperson Wright.
Yes.
Commissioner Pettix.
Yes.
Commissioner Walde.
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez.
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap.
Yes.
Mr. Caldwell's absent. Resolution passes. NBHA Resolution 2024, number 9, resolution to authorize and approve architectural and engineering services not to exceed $60,000. And that went to A&E. They were here previous. That's A&E, right, Joe? No. That's McKiernan. I'm so sorry.
McKiernan
Architect in South Jersey. Okay, that is mentioned in the actual resolution. I'm just going off of the cheat sheet that I have here. Okay, I'll need a motion in a second. And just because it's 60,000, they don't use it all up. Very, very rarely do they use it up. They didn't even use up last year's money. They might not even be here next year because they came close to losing this bid. They're really close. So, and that happens. Once we put things out to bid, if you return as the lowest responsible bidder, we go with you. Okay, so I'll need a motion in a second.
Motion.
Can I just ask a question? I'm sorry to be asking, to make a long meeting even longer. Is there a reason why you don't put the actual contractor or the vendor right in the?
No, this is my cheat sheet. It is in there.
agenda?
The resolution
It's
has.
on the agenda, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at my little, sorry. What was that, number 9? That's, number 9. Better be in here. Payment of bills.
It's 4, authorized project,
9.
6,000.
If you go back where the voting boxes are, like in the packet, but I will do it for you. At the bottom, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of the Housing Authority of the City of New Brunswick, His Emperor Doug Pettix does hereby approve and accept said proposal for architectural engineering services from Joseph McKiernan, not to exceed 60,000. So you're good. Sorry, sorry. I added the other part. That's not in there. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
That resolution has passed. NBHA Resolution 2024, number 10, resolution to authorize and approve redevelopment legal services not to exceed an average hourly rate of $230. That is Willence's firm.
Why is it average? This is the first time I heard average on a resolution.
Well,
like this.
we had 4 bidders that, I believe it was 4 that sent in a response for this. There was no maximum minimums because, and Mr. Manfredi will tell you how the redevelopment legal services are paid.
So yes, so Commissioner, the rates differ depending on the level of experience of the person in the firm, as well as paraprofessionals. And so because you had numerous respondents with varying rates, what the Housing Authority did was look at each respondent and then identify the average hourly rate for those respondents to identify the price factor in this. And as you know, in an RFP for professional services, the criteria are experience, qualifications, and price is the lesser factor, whereas it in a construction bid is the primary factor. But that is how that number came about, as the director indicated.
You know, I've never heard average in previous contracts that we approved. That's why I asked. So.
Since you don't want to move the meetings from Wednesday night, I'll ask a lot of questions. Actually, is there a reason why we don't put a not to exceed amount?
On that particular one? Okay.
On any professional service. I've always kind of insisted on a not to exceed. And if you do exceed, then you go back and you go before the body to get additional funds.
Exactly, Commissioner. The other resolutions did have a not to exceed in it in both the summary and the resolution. And I was just talking to the director if there is an NTE in this one.
So his fees, from my understanding, are
right.
Redevelopment fund. They're not paid from capital. So
yeah, sorry to interrupt you, Director. The costs here are not paid with public housing funds. They're paid with redevelopment funds. So it comes from a different funding source. It's actually paid by the redeveloper. Correct, Dan? Not the housing authority.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Listen, you guys have options. You don't like something, make a motion, a second, we'll table it. You know,
just trying to
it's not a lot of money. It's not a lot of money.
Just trying to digest how we're awarding a contract that somebody else is paying for.
Yeah.
So
yes, Commissioner. If it were a housing matter, there would be an NTE on it.
Okay.
Okay.
And also the other amounts were nowhere near his. That we keep under lock and key in case someone challenges it. Okay. Did we take a motion and a second on this and a vote? I forgot.
I don't believe so.
No, we did not.
We need to.
All right. We're gonna need a motion in a second. Chair?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call. Chairperson Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Pedix,
Yes.
Commissioner Walde,
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez,
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani,
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Mr. Caldwell's absent. Okay, let's go. Shit. NBHA resolution number 11. Resolution to authorize and approve a contract with Factory Consulting LLC for management consulting services not to exceed $60,000. I'd like a motion in a second or discussion.
This is a new contract for Factory going forward?
This is a new contract, and he did not come close to exceeding his contract from the year before. And he may not be here with us for the entire year as he has accepted another job, and he is potentially in the future limited to what he can do. And he was the best available, lowest, most responsible bidder. We did have a challenger. Yes?
Can I ask what kind of services, consulting services this person is providing?
Great question. He provides services where he serves as the mediator for any grievance that we have according to our contract with residents. It's an independent mediator, grievance officer. He assists, as he's assisting us right now, to obtain funds. I've got to find out from the former director if we ever did that before, through a lottery system for our security cameras, which are going to be quite expensive. And it's kind of neat what he found, and it's the hottest thing going out in the country right now. You apply for it, you show your unfortunate criminal numbers, why there's a need for the security of it, and it's more than just safety. I always look at surveillance cameras as the prevention, keeping people safe, but it's deeper than that. And part of that is in the mission statement of the federal government. You can use your consultant to do that, to apply for it. And in this particular case, we could all apply for it in different agencies, and it's a lottery. It's a literal lot. That's how you win. You win by lottery. Even though you need all those other factors. I guess there's a pre-qual position. So I spent a few hours talking to him about that. He can help navigate through the hottest thing that's going on out there in the country. He goes to all the main events that are out there. It's that person, I shouldn't say this person, what you look for in an applicant. A lot of times you have people that are specialists in Section 8 vouchers, issuance of vouchers, the commitment in that area. It depends what the background is of that particular person. For example, if my predecessor were to be one of those individuals, he would be an expert in redevelopment. Even though he's really good in the other stuff, that's his expertise. So he would sell himself in that regard. So that's it.
Meet Ruth Gottesman, a retired
Who's Ruth Gottesman? That's somebody else? We don't know Ruth.
Part of the meeting now.
Okay.
Are you okay with that response?
Yep. Yeah, thank
you. Any more? I can put you on the phone with him. He's pretty good. Okay. So a motion in a second.
Motion.
I'll second.
Roll call. Chairperson Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Pedix?
Yes.
Commissioner Walde?
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap? Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes, I got you, Mr. Total.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Resolution passes. Mr. Call was absent. NBHA Resolution 12, resolution to authorize and approve general fee accounting services not to exceed $49,500.
Make a motion to accept.
I could ask, what kind of accounting services are you providing? We have accounting people on staff, correct?
No.
You don't have any accounting people on staff?
No, they're all done through bidding, through, through, the fee account, like, this is a fee accountant, so that's all done through a vendor, RFP. You mean, we have a finance person, sorry.
I really don't understand any of that.
Oh.
I spent 40 years in accounting, so at least give me, what's this person actually gonna do?
So I don't want to speak for the director, but HUD likely requires you to have an outside fee accountant to be outside of our agency under an independent license to ensure that the accounting department and all the financial aspects of this agency are adhering to proper controls, adhering to all proper financial procedures. They work with inputting all the information into the HUD system as prescribed by HUD. And also upon request, they provide reports to HUD that are independently, I would say certified, but reviewed by the fee account. We have the outside auditor then just as an added layer, as you know, on top of that. And that's part of the public housing system as a system of oversight and accountability and an independent license to the US government.
All right, thank you. I didn't remember, and in the other housing authority that we worked on together, I don't remember there being a fee accountant for there.
Yes, I'll give you a call afterwards since it involves another client, not New Brunswick Housing Authority.
All right, fair enough.
Sure.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Commissioner,
Mr.
please.
Pettix and I have worked together before, so.
Yeah, we have.
Yes.
Anyone else? Anyone else work together? No, I'm joking. No, need a motion in a second.
Actually, Yurgo and I went to graduate school together, so that's kind of the same.
People who ask the most questions. That's great, you guys.
That's why you should change the date for Doug.
I might go to a Sunday.
Change the date. I think they're going to keep it to Wednesday because there's a conflict.
Great. Okay, let's get a motion in a second on this fee accountant not to exceed. And it's
All
going
right,
to
I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Pettix.
Second.
I'll second.
I think Mr. Waldy beat you.
I heard you, Giorgiani.
Oh, Giorgiani? No, I think it was Waldy.
Oh, we did it before. We did it before the question came up.
I'm getting delirious. I've got to eat soon. All right.
Oh man, these meetings are slow or quick. Remember, we used to have the ones years ago. Wally will tell you, 12 o'clock at night.
Oh, you guys are
everybody.
nuts.
No, I'm not kidding.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to say that.
Later than that.
Okay, so I got the second from Waldy. We're going to do a roll call. Chairperson Wright.
Yes.
Commissioner Pettix.
Yes.
Commissioner Waldy.
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez.
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Resolution passes. Dr. Caldwell is absent. Okay. NBHA Resolution 13, resolution to authorize and approve a contract. Hold on a second. Somebody just walked in here. Hey, yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Stephen. Sorry about that. One of my supervisors, maintenance, walked in. Resolution to authorize and approve a contract with Magic Touch Construction for unit modernization and maintenance repair not to exceed $150,000. I got to add, since no one's talking, it was the only bidder. The only bidder. All these workers in our area and how many notices I sent out and that the gentleman, Mike Bajiak, sent out on his end. We got one bidder. It's very disheartening, to say the least.
You're going to hear the name again.
What? Sorry?
And you're going to hear the name again.
Oh, you're going to hear the name a lot. We got a few more left, and you probably hear them overwhelmingly. Okay. Not that there's anything wrong with their service. They're very good, but one company applied. Okay. So we'll need a motion in a second.
Move.
I'll second.
And who moved first? I'm sorry. I thought it was
Yurgo.
Yurgo. Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Waldy. Roll call. Chairperson Wright.
Yes.
Commissioner Pettix.
Yes.
Commissioner Waldy.
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez.
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap.
Yes.
Great. Resolution passes. Mr. Caldwell, let the record reflect Dr. Caldwell's absent. NBHA Resolution 14. Resolution to authorize and approve a contract with Magic Touch Construction for for plumbing repair and maintenance not to exceed $114 an hour. Check one thing.
No, I have to ask why there's no amount to exceed.
Yeah. I was hoping that Zach and I were going to knock all these units down ourselves and we didn't have to pay for any more outrageous plumbing repairs.
I was prepared.
Not saying that they're outrageous. They're getting what that prevailing Davis-Bacon wage rate is. Yep. Who's going to make a motion in a second to table this? Zach?
I thought he had a question, Doug.
Yeah,
he asked a great question. He asked a great question.
You were saying, why don't we have an NTE on this?
Yeah, I'm always a little uncomfortable when there's no amount to exceed. I don't know. This is just me.
You're wanting to table this resolution, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I do. Let's table this.
I looked through the entire heart of this resolution and I don't see an NTE. I just see 114.99.
Okay. Motion to table.
Motion is so motion by Medina Hernandez to table.
Yes.
Okay. Second by chairperson. Roll call. Chairperson Wright.
Yes.
Commissioner Pettix.
Yes.
Commissioner Walde.
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez.
Yes.
Mr. Giorgiani.
Yes.
Mr. Dunlap.
Yes.
And Dr. Cole is not here. Motion tables. All right. That is tabled. Sorry. NBHA Resolution 15, resolution to authorize and approve maintenance and repair not to exceed $150,000 by Magic Touch.
Magic Touch on this one also?
Yep. They got 4 out of 5. Magic Construction.
And they were the only bidders on all of them?
No, the last one is
okay.
Yeah.
No questions?
Move.
I'll second.
Moved by Wright. Second by Giorgiani. Roll call. Chairperson Wright.
Yes.
Commissioner Pettix.
Yes.
Commissioner Walde.
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez.
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap. Commissioner Dunlap?
Yes.
Okay, great. Dr. Cole is not here. Let the record reflect. Resolution passes. NBHA Resolution 16, resolution to authorize and approve a contract with Czech, that's the name of a company, Czech Electrical, for electrical repair and maintenance, not to exceed $77 an hour. That was challenged by second place, which was Magic. They came in over 100. And there was a dispute back and forth, and I'll let Joe entertain this because it had to go to legal. I'm so sorry, Joe. I took it to Alberto. You weren't around when I called you, sorry. And I had to make a move on it because I wanted to get this. But we're back at the same level that we're at $77 an hour, and they came in at, let's say, 114 or 104. I don't recall, but they were in the hundreds. But there is no not to exceed. Now, we could approve them at 77 and keep it at a minimum. And if it got a little crazy, we could stop it. We have that authority to stop it. We don't have to because they're getting paid by the hour.
Well, I would think that if you're using an encumbrance system, the only way you can encumber the funds is if you know the total amount of the funds to be encumbered. So without having an amount to exceed makes it impossible for who's ever doing the accounting there to actually encumber the funds and so you don't overspend a line item, you don't overspend the budget. Otherwise, it's just to pay as you go.
Yeah.
Let's move the table.
I move.
I'll second.
Person Wright, record, Giorgiani. Roll call. Chairperson Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Petix,
Yes.
Commissioner Walde,
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez,
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani,
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap,
Yes.
Dr. Caldwell's absent. Resolution passes. Now, this is my favorite resolution. It's the last one of the evening. Thank you so much for your patience.
Did the resolution passed or we tabled it?
No,
The
resolution passes for tabling.
Okay.
This is the resolution that keeps the business going here. NBHA Resolution 17. This resolution is to extend for another 30 days on certain contracts while procurement process finishes at no extra cost. I still had money left over in the items that we tabled. So we're going to use this last resolution to cover those areas, because I still need to be able to do unit modernization and maintenance repair, right? And I still need to be able to do electrical. Those were the two that we tabled, correct?
Correct.
Can you read the resolution again, please? I'm kind of.
Okay. We tabled two resolutions.
No, I mean this resolution.
Yes, this resolution will cover those other two that we tabled for a period of time until we can get back on track. Resolution to extend another 30 days on certain contracts while procurement process finishes at no extra cost. So if we had agreed on everything else, if everything else was fine, we would not have needed 17. But I had to put 17 in there to cover anything else because our operation still has to continue here.
It allows Commissioner the continuation of the service at no extra charge while the director identifies the appropriate NTE for the contracts we're tabled tonight, and then bring those awards back to the board at the next meeting.
Okay.
So, and one last thing to add. So who benefits is the individuals in those two contracts that you tabled, whoever had the contract previous, because as of tomorrow, everyone else will have new existing contracts. Okay?
Yeah.
Great. I'll need a motion in a second.
Motion.
Second.
Giorgiani, second. Roll call. Chairperson Wright.
Yes.
Commissioner Petix.
Yes.
Commissioner Walde.
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez.
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Dr. Caldwell's not here. At this time, motion for an adjournment. Wait, I think.
Public comment.
Yeah, that
Public
public comment. Public comment. Is he here? Charlie?
Comments from the public. We got one.
Hey there, Charlie Cradaville again. I had some comments and questions about agenda items and also some general matters, so I'll start with the agenda items. I had hoped to be able to question the folks at Edgewood Properties about the Fulton project, Fulton Square 2. My understanding there's some issues with where the soil is going to be taken, the contaminated waste from the site, and I wanted to confirm whether they actually have started to remove it or not, and if it is actually going to go where they say it's going to go, which is, they said, potentially as far as Indiana. And I know that this is something I brought up back when they first came to the board in 2018, was a concern about the soil and how it was going to be handled. And, you know, here we are years later, the project is delayed for that very reason. And I was hoping to get some answers, but I presume they've left for the night. So maybe somebody can follow up. But, you know, the reason they're here tonight, or they were here tonight, was because they have broken the redevelopment agreement by not producing in time, right? They said they were going to start construction in 2022. They didn't. And now they're here to ask for an extension, and they were granted that extension. I want to kind of ask the board, just as a rhetorical thought experiment, what would have happened if they didn't ask for the extension? Would they have just continued to be the designated redeveloper, even though they were in violation of their own agreement? And, you know, maybe the board can start to think about all the redevelopment agreements that you have entered over the years and do some kind of an audit to see who actually is meeting the timelines. And if there's folks that aren't meeting the timelines, the housing authority should proactively take action to say, hey, do you need an extension, or can we find a different redeveloper? I think what's happened historically is it only happens when, someone like me brings it up, or when the developer themselves comes to you and asks for that extension. I think that we should be more vigilant on all these redevelopment projects. And so this is one example of where, basically they've been out of compliance for more than a year, and we're only talking about it because they're now ready to ask for an extension, not because anybody caught them not being in compliance. I'll move on. So agenda items, there's the emergency contractor. Could I just know which contractor that was? The emergency work?
You mean it?
So sorry, DJ Remodeling.
Okay, thank you. And the contract for factory, which is Mr. Gunsaley's
Corey
firm.
Gonzalez, yes.
Yeah, Gonzalez. I wanted to know, you mentioned that they did not use their full contract,
right?
Or they didn't spend it all. Do you know how much they had left over, or how much they were paid over the past year?
So I can get back to you with that. I'm sorry, I don't have that on the top of my head.
That's okay. I'll follow up. And then I think that's it on the agenda items. I will start off by acknowledging Mr. Toto mentioning the Oprah response. It was, delayed, but I do have to say that, I really appreciate Mr. Toto being, communicative and responsive to outreach. So when, there's an issue with an Oprah request, he does respond to phone calls. And, I think he still owes me some stuff for the Franklin Housing Authority, but for New Brunswick, we've received,
keep the matters here,
what we requested. So I appreciate that, and I thank him for that. I think that's a welcome change, and look forward to continuing to have dialogue with him. I wanted to bring to the board's attention the Jersey Avenue demolition that's going on. There's a developer that you've designated to redevelop basically much of Jersey Avenue, 90, 100, 120, and 200 Jersey Avenue. I understand there was some demolition going on today that was unsafe, and basically bricks were falling onto the sidewalk and the street. The street and the sidewalk were open to traffic, and there were not adequate protections for people who could have been hurt if they had been in the wrong place at the wrong time. I can't confirm this, but I heard that the police got involved and shut down the construction or the demolition for the day, and would encourage you to check up on that project and that developer and how they're doing things there. I did want to ask, I think this will be my last question, about the nonprofit board. Is there any update? I know we had said at the last, at the last meeting it was said there were going to be, no public meetings, but there would be updates given at this board. Is there any update to give on the new nonprofit that the Housing Authority set up?
Charlie, as soon as we have an update, we're going to give it to you. But I got to say something. I mean, I got to go home and eat because I'm starving. What do we have to do with a contractor up on Jersey Avenue and bricks are falling? What's that about? What are you talking about? What happened?
Well, they're the designated redeveloper for those properties. The name of the firm escapes me, but the gentleman who came before this board was Jack Klugman, and this board approved him and his company to do a major project of 660 units. And, the demolition is, an early part of the process, but it's already causing problems. And I wanted to bring it to your attention right away, since the board designated them as redeveloper. I'm not saying anyone on this call is at fault for what happened this morning, but I wanted to bring it to your attention, and that's why I brought it up.
I guess that guy, they should go get a negligence attorney or something. I mean, that's got nothing to do with my board here. But all right, we'll look into it. And Charlie, we'll get back to you on all your comments.
Thank you. And the last one I just wanted to share with everybody because it might be useful for the residents. There is a new program that Middlesex County is offering for transportation. It's called Ride on Demand. And I see Mr. Toto has a copy of an announcement about it. And I just wanted to share that with you because I know that the county cut back all the bus service that used to pick up folks at that the bus shelter right by the Aldi, and it's been a struggle for people to get around if they don't have a car for a long time. This doesn't solve everything, but this program is going to provide transportation to anybody who asks for it within New Brunswick. So it won't take you to other towns, but within the city of New Brunswick for $3, folks can get a ride, for much of every day. It is a 7-day-a-week program, and folks can, use the app or make a phone call to ask for the ride. And I just know, there's a lot to do in New Brunswick, but if you're stuck only in your little area, the world gets a lot smaller. So this is something that might help the residents of the public housing in New Brunswick. I just want to bring that to your attention, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. That's all for now.
Thank you, Charlie.
You're welcome. Fantastic.
Great.
All
Thanks.
right. So
Any other
motion to close
comments?
public comment.
Right. Motion to close. Zach?
Motion to close.
All right. Second, Giorgiani. Thank you. Roll call. Chairperson Wright.
Yes.
Commissioner Pettix.
Yes.
Commissioner Walde.
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez.
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap.
Yes.
Dr. Caldwell is still not here. And we thank you. That passed. Now we need a motion in a second. One more for an adjournment. We got to close it. That just closed
I'll
the public.
motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
Second by Medina Hernandez. You sure, Mr. Pettix, you don't have any more questions tonight?
No, thank you. Appreciate that.
That motion already happened, Dan.
All right. Chairperson Wright. Roll call.
Yes.
Commissioner Pettix.
Yes.
Commissioner Walde.
Yes.
Commissioner Medina Hernandez.
Yes.
Commissioner Giorgiani.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunlap.
Yes.
And adios, amigos on Dr. Caldwell. Thank you for all. I mean, this is incredible. I wish I could take you all out to dinner, but I'm out. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you guys for
Good
hanging
night,
in there.
everyone. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye now.
Watch
Bye.
out for falling
Good night.
bricks. Be careful.
Thank you.